Does your gimbal do this? Or something as crazy like this? The main reason a gimbal does something like that is because of not balancing it properly. And with this video, we'll find out the easiest method a 3-axis gimbal can be balanced. At least the method I find out to be the most easiest. Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Raj here, and I know I need a haircut, but not just having the time and effort to go to the barber and get my hair cut, but I need to make the videos, so you gotta do what you gotta do. And this is another angle of my room, which is my workstation in my back, and there's an actual plant which is alive, not fake. Because I heard placing green stuff around your workspace makes you more productive. I don't know if it does or not. Anyway, back to the gimbal stuff. Balancing perfectly will not just make your gimbal's lifespan longer, it will make the battery life you're getting from the gimbal even more, because the motors will have to struggle less to keep the camera in its position. And I've seen across the internet there's lots of videos about balancing a gimbal. Looking from a beginner's eye, all of them seemed really complex. As I was saying, they seem really complex to me. So let's see if I can make this complex thing easy for you. And by balancing, our goal is to make the center of gravity of the gimbal with its camera in the middle. Not talking physics much, as we'll get to see about it visually better. It's easier than balancing your life. Let's go. First things first, before balancing, the camera should not have any extra weight. It can be a lens cap or even a battery or SD card. It should not have any extra component, or it should not miss any components that will be needed while using the camera. Most of the time, the tiniest weight will screw up the perfect balance. And we'll be using a Ronin SC as a 3-axis gimbal to balance a camera. And the first thing we need to know is that we have 3 different axes in this kind of gimbals, and they are the pan axis, the roll axis, and the tilt axis. And we need to balance all the 3 axes to get the best out of our gimbal. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'll be balancing each axis separately, so you get a better understanding about how to balance each axis and get a clear understanding about what we need to achieve here. We'll start from the tilt axis, then move to the roll and end it with the pan axis. So at the very beginning, we need to slide our camera in the gimbal, lock the other 2 axes but the tilt axis, and make the tilt axis independent so we can move it and balance it as we need. Now we need to keep the camera leveled horizontal. We need to push back or push in, determine the point where the camera stays horizontally leveled. After we're done with the horizontal leveling, we need to rotate the tilt axis so the camera is facing upwards. Again, level it from this arm so the camera doesn't fall behind or forward. It keeps facing the upward direction directly. After we've done this, we need to check again the horizontal leveling. After this upward direction leveling, sometimes the horizontal leveling goes a little messy, so we need to check that again. If that is good to go, in any tilt orientation I keep the camera, it will stay, because our center of gravity is on the camera's middle position and it will stay in any position. So ultimately, when the gimbal is working, it won't have to push as much as power to keep the camera in any orientation. And that is the main goal of balancing. And in the same way, we're gonna lock the tilt axis and unlock the roll axis, and it might go left or right depending on our camera's weight, and we need to even the weight so the camera doesn't fall right or left. This is particularly more easier than the tilt balancing because there are 2 weights, which is the roll arm and the camera, so we can balance it pretty much easier. And we'll have the roll axis balance. Now if we just unlock the tilt axis and just put the camera in any orientation, it will stay. And if it doesn't, our balancing is not perfect. And if it does, congratulations, 1/3 of the gimbal is balanced properly. And the last part is the pan axis. We need to check the pan axis by tilting the gimbal. I tilt the gimbal 45° onwards and it doesn't rotate by itself, it's okay. And if it does, do the fine tuning. When the gimbal does not rotate by itself, even after moving the gimbal 45° onwards, the pan axis is balanced. The pan axis is the least hardest, but again the most confusing of these all, because you need to check in some other way. And now in any gimbal's rotation and orientation, the camera will stay on its position, resulting the motors will have to less stress, the battery will be prolonged, and the gimbal will have a better time with it, and which will result you to have more stabilized footages. It's as simple as that. If you give in here, it will give you back. Also, after balancing, DJI app allows you to check if you correctly balanced your gimbal or not. Just go to the balance check option and tilt your gimbal to 45° and start the balance test. It will test the gimbal's balance, like moving weirdly. Just keep the gimbal steady. If the gimbal's 3-axis is properly balanced, and if not, which axis needs to be corrected. And that's kind of handy for new, and every time you change a lens or you change a component, you need to rebalance the gimbal again, as everything vary in weight. And every single time after changing a component and balancing, do a motor calibration, so the motors will get to know the camera's weight and have a better calculation about how much strength it needs to move the camera to give you the best stabilized footage it can. And that is pretty much the way you can unlock the most potential out of your gimbal. So that's all for today. I hope I didn't confuse you, and if I did, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be here to answer you and clear any confusions if I've made any. And help me balance in YouTube by subscribing to this channel. And if you've come this far, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video. Walking away after a speech, how cool is that? Oh my god, pro YouTuber, man.